and welcome to the Behavior Education Connection, the podcast that works to connect the world of behavior analysis and the world of education. We focus on topics important to behavior analysts who work in the public schools and those who support them. Join us and spend time gaining insights and ideas as our host talks with fellow behavior analysts as well as other experts in the field. Hello and welcome to our first episode of the Behavior Education Connection. I am your host, Dr. Selena Layden, and I am here today with Daniel Irwin. Daniel, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you're with me to talk about something that's really been exciting that we've been working on. But before we do that, why don't you take a second and introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Daniel Irwin. I'm the Autism Assistive Technology Specialist, Autism and Assistive Technology Specialist at the Virginia Department of Education. I've been there about 5 or 6 years. Before that, I worked in public schools as a behavior coach, sort of an autism mentor teacher. And before that, I worked in a private day school serving primarily kids on the autism spectrum.
Well, I'm really excited to talk about this topic today because we've been doing a lot of work, and I think it'll just be kind of fun to celebrate the work we've been doing and talk about where we're going. But today we are talking about creating a professional network and why is that important, and then what we've done in Virginia around that. So I'll just start out by saying, why is a professional network important for BCBAs?
Well, I think one of the reasons is because many divisions employ one, maybe two, and we have some that employ a number of BCBAs within the division. But for many BCBAs that are working in public schools, they're the only one of one or two that are actually in the division. And so having that network really provides the opportunity to meet with other BCBAs and really talk about and discuss and process the challenges of the work in working in public schools, sharing ideas, and really kind of helping to further the field a little bit and understanding how people are implementing and utilizing behavior analysis within the division to benefit kids. So it's really about that information sharing and networking.
Yeah, I know you've heard me say this before, Daniel, but when I started in the schools, I felt like I was a behavior analyst in a sea of educators. And it was challenging sometimes to be looked at as the expert in all things behavior when you're by yourself doing that. So this network has been, for me, very exciting because I feel like it gives people colleagues and support so that they don't have to feel completely alone if that's their case. But that actually brings me to the next question, which talk a little bit about why we decided to create more of a formal network, specifically in Virginia for those BCBAs working in public schools.
Sure. So in 2020, some legislation was passed that required the Department of Ed to create guidance on the provision of behavior analysis in schools. And as we were gathering information for that and trying to figure out, where is behavior analysis being used? How's it being used? And what does it look like in a public school setting? We really started just gathering more questions that we thought needed to be answered. And so, as we're talking to behavior analysts who are working in schools, we really saw a need for some additional professional development and again, kind of that networking opportunity to help promote the use of and really look at how we can support not only the behavior analysts who are working in schools, but also support the schools in understanding how to utilize and efficiently and effectively kind of hire and utilize behavior analysis, not just as sort of this reactive strategy, which I think a lot of times BCBAs in schools kind of get caught up in, this putting out fires, responding to emergencies, things of that nature, but really thinking about how to empower behavior analysts to really look at that systemic change and really think about how to look at changing approaches division wide as opposed to maybe student by student, really build capacity. So one, we want to support the BCBAs in schools, knowing that they've got some unique challenges, and really help them build a structure of support for them to utilize. Two, to grow the field and helping divisions understand kind of how behavior analysis can benefit their division. And three, really thinking proactively, and this is something we're continuing to work on, is really that interprofessional education and collaboration, to think as a BCBA in school, you work on a team. And so really thinking about strategies and processes for making that collaborative relationship really fruitful and beneficial to both the division, the BCBA, the client, the student, and families.
I love how you talk about the structure of support. One of the things, when you're getting your BCBA or when you're trying to obtain it, you have a lot of support because you have to do supervision and you're in your coursework. And then that supervision ends. And then, hopefully you do continue your relationship with your supervisor, but there's no guarantee that that will happen. There's also no guarantee that that person was necessarily in public schools, and so they may or may not understand the challenges that go along with that that very applied setting. But what do you see as, you talked about some of them, but what do you see as some of the other benefits of this particular network, doing it on a statewide level?
Well, one, I think it gives us the opportunity to reach individuals that maybe we wouldn't have had contact with before, by really formalizing this and being really mindful about how this is set up. Thanks in large part to you, Selena. We've identified, I think, probably 100 more behavior analysts that are working in schools than we started with. We started kind of with this initial survey about who you are, where you are, what your job is. And as word has sort of spread, we found a bunch of people, and I'm willing to bet there's several more out there that we haven't reached yet.
That so we will find. We will
if
find.
You're out there, email Selena. But lost my train of thought.
Sorry. As long as we get more people in the network, though, that's a good start.
Right. Benefits of the network.
Yes.
Yeah. The benefits, really, for me, I'll start with me. I'm learning a lot from this group of people. It's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. I worked in a division. I knew what my job was. I knew what the challenges were. I knew what the support structure was like. My supervisor was always very supportive of any efforts we put together. But as we're learning about how divisions approach behavior analysis, how they utilize their behavior analysts within the division, we're starting to see patterns. We're starting to see areas where we can help divisions kind of understand the scope of what a behavior analyst can do within their division. And the benefit is, I think we're creating something here that is scalable. And we're looking at sort of these unique needs that school division personnel face, whether there's ethical challenges or kind of the very simple question of who is the client here. If I'm employed by a school division, and am I fully held to this student as my client, or this teacher who I'm trying to, train and coach through some good teaching strategies, good behavioral strategies? Is that my client? And so there's these weird lines that I think we're helping each other figure out and navigate some of these questions that maybe we haven't had to answer. I think another benefit of this is, as you mentioned before, the growth of behavior analysis in Virginia has been huge. And what that means is, over the past several years, and what that means is we're getting a lot of behavior analysts in the field who are fresh, who don't necessarily have that educational experience, like their supervisory hours, their supervised field work. May have been more of a clinical setting, or may have been more of an in-home setting, these settings that aren't necessarily focused within a school division. And so this network really helps us identify who are the people who have been involved in divisions, who have taken leadership roles in divisions, and really helping provide, again, kind of that network, that that support system for, hey, we've been there, we've done that we struggled with A, B, and C. Here's how we decided to move forward and the decisions we made to support behavior analysis and support the BCBA's working in schools. And so what I'm hoping for is a place where new BCBAs, if you're new in the school division, can go to kind of get some guidance. More experienced folks who have been working in schools can provide some of that guidance and help kind of take a lead in the network. The long answer.
Oh, it was good. No, I like it. Because it actually, I want you to talk a little bit about some of the activities that we're doing as part of the network too. And I know this, as we're recording this, we're still forming the ship a little bit. We're still building it, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on that's really exciting. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, I might jump in though.
Yeah, do jump in because I never remember all the things I need to remember. So I think first and foremost, and where this really started was really looking to provide, well, kind of two parts. One is that support to the behavior analysts who are working in schools, knowing, again, that needs are different and being able to provide continuing ed credits for them, sort of take some of that burden off of having to find meaningful and useful CEUs. We could use the network to identify what people wanted to know by asking them directly and then providing continuing ed in those topics. And so we've been doing those monthly and been getting really good feedback from our participants. And so we've covered topics like the guidance. We covered, what is this guidance? What does it mean to me? We've talked about interprofessional collaboration between BCBAs and SLPs. We've talked about ethics, the new ethics codes coming up. Go ahead.
Sorry, the collaborating with administrators.
Collaborating with administrators, the new ethics code and what that might look like for those folks who are working in school divisions.
We did one on telehealth.
What's that?
We did one on telehealth.
And one on telehealth.
Because we, unfortunately with the pandemic, everyone's providing virtual instruction. And so we took a pretty deep dive into the literature on that, which was exciting.
Which was, in my mind, a really great opportunity for people. That's where that networking piece came in, right? Because they were given the opportunity to get into small groups, talk about how their division was handling the telework, the teleeducation, the telehealth component, and really share ideas about how to make it work, how to support teachers and families. And so, again, kind of back to the power of that network, it wasn't just someone standing there telling us how to do it. It was people who are doing it as we're all figuring it out, really brainstorming and thinking and sharing ideas and thoughts about how to be successful.
So Daniel, we've been doing a lot of work as part of the network, and some really exciting things are going on. The CE events are definitely a huge component of what we've been doing and have been really well received. But what are some of the other activities we've been working on? And one of the things that I'd like you to talk about is the subcommittee work specifically, because what's really cool about that is it is the members of the network doing work that supports them.
Right. So as we've developed the network and sort of moved forward with providing those CE events, we really want to make sure that this is something that's sustainable and something that we can continue to work on, but really remain, as you said, Selena, really member focused and member driven. And so in kind of identifying the needs of the field, identifying the needs of both practitioners and schools and families and everything else, we sort of broke into 3 different subcategories. And these, over time may change, but the big idea being one, member support. So as you mentioned, we're offering CEs. We're looking at developing a mentorship program that wouldn't be supervisory by nature, but as I mentioned before, sort of taking someone who might be new to a role as a behavior analyst in a school and pairing them up with someone who's got some more experience so that there's just that collaborative effort. The other is sort of this education. And so many schools don't know exactly kind of what a behavior analyst does.
Or
And
what to do
so
with them once they
what's
have
that?
them, or what to do with them once they have them.
Right. And so what we aim to do is educate division leadership, school leadership, um, not only in kind of what is ABA, what does it look like, how can it work for you, but really again how to build capacity using your behavior analyst, knowing that many have seen ABA become just synonymous with autism. And so one of the things we have to do is sort of undo a little bit of that and say, behavior analytic strategies work for all of us. And so whether it's staff management, whether it's student behavior management, student learning, communication, behavior analysis can fit into all of that, and really showing them how that works so that they can effectively utilize behavior analysts in their division in a way that's challenging and meaningful for the behavior analysts. What we also don't want to do is get BCBAs in schools in positions that don't meet their needs professionally. So we get burnout, right? Like we want to make sure that behavior analysts are working in schools, are having high job satisfaction. And part of that comes with making sure that their job is challenging but rewarding because it's
Right.
well defined. It's they know what they're getting into when they sign up. And the third is our outreach subcommittee, and that's really about our responsibility to promote the field. And so this is really looking for um, sort of that interprofessional collaboration, right? So we know we've got private providers that are providing services in schools, and that might look a number of different ways. We also know um,
There's also the
that,
new behavior analysts, like as they come into
yes,
the field, because one of the things we've talked about, Daniel, is a lot of the people that are part of our network have become behavior analysts in the last 5 years, which is great because that means our field is growing, but it also means that a lot of these people are still relatively new to our field. And so we talked about that cliff, right? You get done with supervision and then there's a cliff sometimes where you don't have that built-in support anymore. And so we're trying to create some mechanisms that don't look like supervision, clearly, but that still provide support.
right. And we want to make sure that new behavior analysts, folks that are finishing up their programs and are passing the test, know that working in a public school is a viable and wonderful option.
Right.
And so, reaching out to universities and saying, hey, we've got this network. We're really trying to support the idea that um, the amount of impact a behavior analyst can have in a school division is in some ways immeasurable, because you're working with so many different people and promoting good solid strategies across the board. And so we really want to sing the praises of what it can mean to be a behavior analyst in school, and really find good quality candidates to come and join our network and be part of that.
Yeah. Um, you're right. And I think I'm gonna unfortunately wrap us up because we are running out of time, but it's been such a great discussion.
That was
Um,
fast.
so Daniel, I really appreciate the time that you spent with me today talking about this. It's such a great topic. I hate to cut it off, but I do want to hear any final thoughts that you have, as well as who and how can people join this network, because I think it's a great opportunity for people.
I agree. So if you are a public school employee and you are a behavior analyst, or you're interested in pursuing your BCBA, or you're kind of in the process of that, you can email. We've got an email address. It's vapsban@odu.edu, and that's VAPSBAN, the Virginia Public Schools Behavior Analyst Network. We're growing. It's great. We've got some events coming up that I'm very excited about. We look forward to continuing the work with those subcommittees we talked about. Final thoughts really are, we've seen this growth in Virginia um, of behavior analysts in general. And we've seen a need in public schools for supporting kids with behavioral challenges. And so we really are at a place where promoting and getting behavior analysts and good behavior analytic practices into schools, it's always a good time for that. And so Hopefully this network can help to inform the field, help inform school divisions, and really help keep behavior analysts in schools engaged in ongoing learning, networking, and professional development. So we'd love to have you if you're out there.
Absolutely. And please do contact us. Even if you just have questions, we'd be happy to talk to you. Daniel, thank you again so much. Daniel Irwin from the Virginia Department of Education. And I appreciate everybody listening, and I hope we will see you during the next episode. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Behavior Education Connection. Join us next time for another great conversation about behavior analysis in the schools. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. Sending out a special thanks to the Virginia Department of Education for supporting our work. We look forward to connecting with you all again soon.